Hey, this is Dwayne, and this is my GED Intermediate Math series. This is Lesson 1, or rather, this is a brief summary of Lesson 1, which is Understanding the Base 10 System. I say brief summary because this is what I taught in class. Of course, our classes are 2.5 hours long, and you're about to get perhaps 5 to 10 minute summary of what we talked about. Before I talk about the Base 10 system, I did want to say that in class, I passed out a multiplication table, and I stressed that it is important to know your multiplication facts. It's important, but not critical, right? On the GED math test, there are only five or six questions where you cannot use a calculator. So on those 5 or 6 questions, if you are able to do multiplication quickly, that'll help you answer those questions nice and easily. However, for the vast majority of the test, you are able to use a calculator, and so knowing your multiplication facts is not critical. And for that reason, we will not spend any time in class learning our multiplication facts. However, if you know them, it is helpful. If you know them, you can just answer questions much more quickly. The GED test is timed, and so being able to answer those questions quickly, knowing your multiplication facts could help you answer questions quickly enough that you do not run out of time to answer the questions. Knowing your multiplication facts is also just a useful life skill. So I highly recommend, if you do not know your multiplication facts, you learn them. Okay? IXL has resources you can use to help you practice. So if you have any questions about that, please let me know. But with that aside, in our first lesson, we talked about understanding the base 10 system. So base 10 system is a really fancy way, convoluted way really, of saying that in our numbers, we start from 0 and we go to 9, right? After 9, we go back to 0. 0 and 9 account for 10 digits, right? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 10 digits. What's a digit? Great question. That's any number from 0 to 9. Any numeral, rather. And as you might know, we combine digits to create a larger number. For example, this right here, you see this is 361,058, right? Each digit in this number falls into a certain place value. And each place value has its own name, right? So the 8 is in the ones place. The 5 is in the tens place. So when I say 5 is in the tens place, that really means that 5 actually really stands for 50, right? It means we've got 5 tens. 5 times 10 is 50, right? In the hundreds place, we got 0. This means that we have 0 hundredths in this number. So that's just, there are no hundreds in this number. The 1 is in the thousands place, right? So 1 times 1,000 is 1,000. So that means in this number we have this 1 means 1,000. The 6 is in the 10,000s. 6 times 10,000 equals 60,000. So here that 6 means 60,000. And then we got a 3 in the 100,000s. That means that really that 3 means 300,000. All right, so if you add up all these things together, 300,000 plus 60,000 plus 1,000 plus 0 hundreds plus 5 tens, plus 50 rather, plus 8, that'll give you 361,058. And what I just discussed is actually represented right here. Ones just mean just plain old 1. 10 looks like 10. Hundreds looks like 100. Thousands look like 1,000. 10,000s are 10,000. And 100,000s are 100,000. Most of us have lots of experience with numbers, and so you don't really need to know that. And you don't necessarily need to know that the very abstractly that 6 in this 361,058 means 60,000s. However, you do need to know the names of these place values. You do need to know that it goes ones, tens, hundreds, column, thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s. Because when we talk about rounding, sometimes we have to round to certain place values, right? So rounding, in case it's been a while, rounding is when we're cool with an estimate. We don't need the exact number. We can just estimate it. So when we round a number, we can make it a nice even number. That number is going to end in 0 or multiple zeros. So when we round to a certain place value, right? And what we do, actually, Here, what we do actually is we decide what place value we're going to round to, right? So let's say we wanted to round in this number I've got here, 728,937. Let's say we wanted to round the hundreds place, right? So this is the hundreds place right here. That is that 9, okay? So when I say we're going to round it, that means I'm going to change the rest of these numbers to the right of that 9 to zeros. We're going to make it a nice even number. It's an estimate. It's a fuzzy number. It's not exactly. It's not exact. It's just sort of around there, right? And when we round, we actually need to look at the number to the right of the number we want to round to, the place value we want to round to. So if we want to round to the hundreds, we're actually going to look at the tens, right? If that tens place is 5 or larger, then we need to go back to the place value we care about, and we need to add 1. Okay? If the place value if the place value we're looking at is less than 5, then we just leave it alone, right? That was sort of a little bit convoluted. Let me explain. So if we want to round to the hundreds, that's going to be this 9. We need to look at this 3 to determine what we do with this 9. Okay? 3 is less than 5. Since 3 is less than 5, we're just going to rewrite this number as 728,000. And then 900. Ah, shoot. Oh, it's not running over, but that's okay. So, cool. So, when we round to the hundreds, 728,937 just becomes 728,900, right? It's a nice even number. We don't need to know exactly that it ends in 937. 900 is good enough, right? What if we wanted to round to the nearest, let's say, 1,000, right? So if we round to the nearest 1,000, that's going to be this 8 right here. That 8 is in the thousands place value, right? To determine what we do with that 8, we got to look at this 9 in the hundreds place, right? Now we got to ask ourselves, is that 9 5 or greater or less than 5, right? 9 is greater than 5. So what we do is we're going to add 1 to this 8, and then the rest of it, all the numbers to the right are going to be zeros, right? So this is going to become 729,000. There you have it. When we round to a certain place value, everything to the right of that place value is just going to be changed to zeros. The only question is, what do we do with that place value we want to round to? Does it need to go up a number, or does it stay the same? So when we rounded to thousands, bam, the 8 changed to a 9, and everything to the right of the thousands became zeros. That's why we need to care about place values. We need to know which place value is which. That way when it says to round, we know to what number we're rounding to. Rounding can get a little funky. So when I talk to my family or to other people, and they ask me how many students I have, because they're curious, right? I say, I'm not sure what's happening here. I say, oh, I have 27 students. Actually, I don't say that. I know I have 27 students, but my parents, my family, they don't need to know, my friends, they don't need to know that exactly 27. Instead, an estimate is good enough, right? So I might say, well, 30. Because I do have about 30. So what I did is I rounded to the tens place, right? So the tens place is that 2. So I need to look at the number to the right. It's a 7. 7 is bigger than 5, so I'm going to round up. And that 2 is going to become a 3. And then everything to the right of the 3 is just a 0. Here's where I say that rounding can get a little funky, right? What if I rounded around this number to the nearest 100, right? If I want to round this to the nearest 100, well, actually, that 27 becomes 0. Because 27 is closer to 0 than it is to 100. So if I wanted to round the nearest 100, or rather if someone said, you know, tell me the number of students you have, but rounded to the nearest 100, I would say I have 0 students. a little bit funky, right? Because I don't have 0 students. So sometimes with rounding, you need to make sure that you are, if you are giving a round of your own volition, meaning you're deciding what place value to round to, you want to make sure it makes sense. That is not misleading, but cool. I think that was it. Yep, I think that was it. So we completed the rest of this lesson in class. And then your homework is in Score Boost level M1, and it is lesson 1, which is understanding the base 10 system. Cool. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.